So for the first example of reflection, we're going to be looking at mirrors, and we're going to be looking at plane or flat mirrors. These are the mirrors that we usually use in real life. And when we use them, this should all be familiar to you, there's a right-left reversal, meaning that if I raise my right hand, in the mirror, it looks like the person is raising their left hand. There's no up and down reversal. Where my head is where I see my head, unless the mirror is at the bottom. So if it's underneath me and I'm standing on top of it, then there will be an up down reversal. And the best example of this is if you see a lake and you see the background behind the lake, like a tree, the tree will be reflected in the lake upside down. Another thing about the image is that if it's a perfectly plane mirror, the size and distance of the image appears the same as the object. So if I stand at, like my husband stands at 2 meters tall, then his image will be also 2 meters tall. If he's standing 1 meter away from the mirror, his image will look like it's standing 1 meter away from the mirror, but in the plane of the mirror, it looks like it's coming from behind the mirror. Now we know that the image can't come from behind the mirror. So anytime the image is on the opposite side of the observer, we call that a virtual image. It's an image that can't exist. It just looks like it exists there, like it's floating in space. And what happens is that you have these angles of reflection. If I'm the observer here and it's reflecting into my light, my brain always assumes that light comes in a straight line, that it can't bend, that it can't bounce back. And so my mind mentally traces the lines back to the image that I see here. And that's where my brain perceives the image to be, right? The image is not actually behind the mirror in the wall. It seems like it is, and it's that perception. And that all comes because the brain assumes that light travels in a straight line. The interesting things comes when I use mirrors at angles. Right, so here's a mirror at an acute angle, and my incoming light comes in here. That's my normal right here, and it bounces back and it hits the other mirror, and it could be at the same angle or a different angle, and that also then bounces off. So it's a way of being able to get light to bend or turn around corners is by having it reflected off of different light mirrors. And you can do that with a periscope, right? So if I have a submarine and I want to see what's up above the surface, I can angle mirrors in such a way within the periscope that will enable me to be able to see what's outside and around a corner. Retroreflectors are angles, mirrors that are at a 90-degree angle. And so whether my light coming in is this pink light, so it bounces off here, bounces here, or this green light, what you see is that these lines are parallel to one another. So if my light beam is coming in here, I see it reflected back as a beam of light coming back to my eye. And these are really important because what it enables the viewer to see is that it sees the light that it has given off coming back. It's reflecting back to the person, hence the name retroreflector. It doesn't bounce to another person over there. It bounces back to the person who's seeing it. You'd be like, why would I want to do that? Well, retroreflectors are embedded in very tiny spheres of glass in reflective paint. So reflective paint is really important in highway markings or road markings. I need to be able to see the lines on the road. I don't want the light to bounce off and go off in the distance. I need that light to bounce back into my eye. And so if this is the beam of light from the headlight, this is what's being bounced back to the observer. And so it's being bounced back in a parallel manner and slightly higher. So even if the beam of light is here and the observer is here, I'm seeing the light going back up into my eye. So I can see the paint on the road clearly. Reflectors, right, on the back of bicycles, on people's shoes, on mailboxes, anywhere that you have those little tiny reflectors, those also are retroreflectors. That's why they have that strangely craggy surface to it. Same thing, I need to see where that bicycle is. I need to see where that mailbox is so I don't hit it in the dark. And on road signs. So this retroreflective plate is also used on road signs so that I can see the information that's seen on the road. So you can't use just any paint when it comes to reflective paint or any sort of thing. You can't mark the sides of the road with, I don't know, spray paint because that's not retroreflective. And what's going to happen is that at night, when people really need to know where the edge of the road is or where the next lane of oncoming traffic is, they won't be able to see that. So this is very much of a safety feature that is used anytime you need to be able to see something in the dark clearly.